Radar Reacts. The PlayStation 4 is officially announced at a Sony event. So, like an hour and 45... So basically we all expected the Sony event to be Sony's going to talk about numbers for 45 minutes and then be like, PlayStation 4, and then run away. But it was a full-blown E3 size, if not bigger, unveiling for the system.
Over 2 hours.
I was amazed at how much they really revealed, honestly.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
there was so much.
There's a lot we don't know, but here's what we do know. I mean, we got the release window, which is holiday 2013, which we kind of knew, but it's good to finally hear it. We have the specs. We have a supercharged PC architecture, an x86 CPU. Now, what does that mean, Ryan?
Oh, it's the most standard PC architecture.
You have no idea. Okay.
The word supercharged is kind of suspect, but
enhanced PC GPU and 8 gigs of memory, which is actually kind of a big deal because consoles have been notorious among developers for not having enough RAM.
Not only that, but for a long time, the PlayStation 4 had been rumored to be running only 4 gigs. So that's
DDR3,
huge.
Right? Didn't they? Or DDR5? Like some weird...
They are running DDR5.
Yes.
But that's typically been, as they mentioned, that's been dedicated traditionally to GPU memory only.
Right.
So that's a big deal.
Yeah, and... it's going to have a local hard drive. It didn't sound like solid state. They probably would have played that up, but we don't know. But yeah, and they showed off some games. What do you think of the specs? Based on, I mean, they haven't given us huge details, but they seem to be pumping the specs up.
I think we're going to see the same thing that we see typically in a new console generation, where at first we're like, wow, this looks really good, and then a couple years in, we're going to be like, holy crap, we had no idea like it could go this far. So I think, of course, I don't know, but that being said, the developers were all like, man, this is really easy to develop for.
Yeah, one thing they said is essentially they're building it like you would build a PC, except stripping out everything that you don't need for gaming. It's essentially a PC.
My favorite part that gave me the most hope about the PS4 is they were like, look, sell, while cool idea, maybe wasn't the best because it really got in the way of the development process. So now we're like, you know what? Let's make it as easy as we possibly can.
If it seemed like an apology to me, because you cut to 7 years ago, they were all just talking about hardware. This is such a powerful thing, the PS3, so great. They weren't talking at all about how developers would use it, and Sony learned very quickly they needed developers to make things for their system, not just be impressed by it.
I mean, the Sony system for the last 2 generations has been the hardest to develop for, and it looks like they're finally trying to reverse that.
Another really cool thing that I thought was brought up was, and it's an interesting point that I don't think we think about that often, that when the PS3 did come out, they're right, it was this weird period of flux where people are really starting to get into like social media and sharing all kinds of things, and connectivity had never been as important as it had then, and like they realized years into the PS3's life cycle, like there are literally things we can't do on this system that people want to do because we didn't know this was going to become this was going to evolve in this way.
Yeah. So while on the topic of sharing in social media, Lucas, you wrote an article about the PlayStation 4 controller before we saw it.
Yes.
We've now seen it, and it has a share button. What is that controller doing?
It's going to be crazy. So basically, by tapping that at any time, you can take a screenshot or a video and upload it. And basically, this is going to make it so that people who have never set up capturing equipment or streamed anything before can broadcast whatever
through Ustream. They said, right?
Yes, through Facebook and Ustream.
So they actually have already in place partners for this, and then the ability. So the craziest thing they talked about is, so if your friend is playing a game, you could just hit some buttons, and then you're watching them play a game. And if your friend can't beat a level, you can just take over their system and beat the level. That's freaking nuts.
Scary.
They must have to own the game, though. They have.
Probably. Or else you could be like, yo, man, I'm gonna go to the movies. You want to play 2 hours of Killzone? But yeah, the controller in general, it's pretty much exactly what the leaked version was, except the leaked version didn't have the share button. And remember that button that we didn't know what it was on the top left? It was like a little nub that we were like, maybe you can pop the screen out. And that screen isn't a screen. It's a touchpad.
Yes.
Right. So,
like the back of your PS Vita.
Yeah.
If you own one.
Yeah, which essentially works exactly like a touch screen, except it's not. It's almost more like a trackpad for a laptop.
And then it has, much like the top of a Move controller, it's got a little colored thing on the front of it, I guess you'd say.
It's sort of like the top middle, yeah.
The top middle, and that'll show, the color coding will tell you who's playing too. And they say they're going to have like a 2-camera eye watching it so it can still do Move stuff as well.
One thing I thought was kind of funny about the lighting, they're like, and it's a nice convenient way to identify which player you are. And I was like, well, it was also pretty easy to just look at the numbered notification.
Also, you're going to have so many people that are colorblind. Like, what color are you? Gray. What about you over there? So yeah, the controller. What do you think of the controller? I personally think it looks awesome. I mean, it's essentially an Xbox 360 controller just merged into a DualShock.
Yeah, it looks pretty
like
slick.
it looks thicker than a PS3 controller did, except it has that weird kind of bar, like the top of the Xbox controller is sort of a larger.
I can't wait to get one in my hands and actually see just like how big the controller actually is, because it's hard to tell when they're just showing it off on the.
It looked kind of small.
Yeah, it looks smaller than I expected it to be.
Yeah, I've always felt the DualShock is the best controller design ever, so it's great just to see them keep pretty much all of it and just add on to it instead of just ditching the whole thing to make a boomerang.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people saying like, "Oh, it's Sony's ditching the last 20 years almost of gaming to make something totally different." But this controller really is an evolution of the DualShock more than anything else.
One very interesting point that I thought they made, and it honestly surprised me, was the living room is not our focus. The gamer is. And that's like such a polar opposite of what Microsoft has been pitching.
And it's good to see them finally say, like, draw the lines in the sand. Like, all right, that's your business right there. We're focusing on the player.
And I'm beyond excited to hear that. Like, that's an excellent message, I think, to send, because the gamers are still going to use your device to do other things like streaming and social media that they want to use it for. But we're buying PlayStation 4s so we can play games on it, and I think that's awesome that they hit that point.
Yeah. So, biggest thing, though, and the thing I think we're all the most surprised by, is how many games were shown off. I mean, the lead game was Knack, which is being made by the person who's actually handling the system's architecture, who's ex-Naughty Dog, worked for Sega, and it's essentially a typical hack and slash,
Pixar-ish.
Jak and Daxter. I mean, he worked on Jak and Daxter. It kind of looks like that, except you're playing a robot that can be made of a bunch of pieces. It looks as tech demo-y as possible.
Right.
It looks a
really
little
cool.
like Katamari, where you're basically building up your character to take on bigger
And
challenges.
you're fighting fantastical enemies like orcs and other monsters.
Yeah,
and,
goblins.
But you can also turn invisible. But the coolest thing first off, it was so weird to see them go back to a kiddie game after they'd had, such violent main characters as the stars of pretty much every PS3 franchise.
And not even kiddie, like, pandering. Like something like Jak and Daxter, Crash Bandicoot. It's like anyone
Just like
can
all
play
ages.
this.
all ages.
Yeah.
But also the streaming tech they showed for it, they're like, and now he's playing it on the Vita just there, and the graphics didn't seem to really suffer any from.
Well, the
it was
implication
just-
of Gaikai is that they can do all the rendering on the server side and push that to any device.
It essentially, I mean, I'm hearing a lot of people, myself included, who are saying, like, one of the greatest coups Nintendo has with the Wii U is I can play the game on my gamepad without the TV. And this is Sony just being like, oh, yeah, we can do that too. Like, whatever.
Except you can also, technically, you might be able to play it on your phone or your tablet or your anything.
Yeah, I wonder how open they're going to make that.
Yeah.
I'm just worried because if you look at the system, the PlayStation controller will have more buttons.
Yeah.
I mean, it has the second control.
But a game like Knack looks simple enough that, like, on the Vita, you'd have pretty much all your control capabilities. You know?
Right.
Also shown off, probably the best looking game, Killzone Shadowfall, which I saw people who were at the event tweeting that you could see someone on stage playing, and if that was in-game footage, and I'd be shocked if they made that mistake twice and it wasn't.
Yeah.
Holy hell.
Yeah, right.
That was
It's
amazing.
And it's tough to say too, like when you're watching on stream versus actually seeing it right there in front of you on a nice big TV, and it's like, man, it's amazing how much of a jump there really is, even though it's not as revolutionary as the jumps we're used to seeing between, like, PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, but still, it's crazy good looking.
It's crazy. The scale of the levels looked ridiculous.
The amount of debris that was falling everywhere.
Yeah, and every character model looked like the best character model you had seen. It's ridiculous. And just the fact that they finally ditched the brown and gray color palette. I mean, they eventually got back there once the missiles started falling.
Well,
but
they did, but then when the sequence where you were where the guy's being carried by the ship, like you're flying through the city and you're seeing again that same bright, colorful city. Stuff's blowing up around it, but it's still like purples and like
Neons.
blues.
It's almost like
and
Killzone Mirror's Edge Uncharted.
Yeah.
Like it looked like a nice merger of things. And the actual gameplay, I mean, it's going to probably play just like Killzone, but it looked very solid. So that was exciting.
And at the end, the guy hit the share button and he uploaded it to the Killzone Facebook page. Like
And we
the whole
went-
gameplay.
Which, by the way,
went to the Killzone Facebook
I
page.
bet you anything that's not actually what happened.
Probably not, but
They just
theoretically,
It was a
that's
nice
what
magic
can happen. Yeah, there was a lot of smoke and mirrors there. Other games announced. We have Drive Club. So it's I think it's MotorStorm developers,
It's
right?
MotorStorm devs,
making the game they've wanted to make for years. They've owned the Drive Club domain and like IP for 9
years.
years, and it's Forza. It's Gran Turismo.
Sure is
Sure looks
pretty
good.
looking.
And there's first person, one of the big things they push forward is you can turn on first person mode, and it's not just like, oh, you're in the cockpit. It's like, no, screw that. You're seeing out of eyes. This is a first person game, and they literally just like lost their mind over how drive gamey this is. Like you could look at his gloves, and it's like we're looking around the room like, man, that sounds like you care a lot.
It was strange to me that like that was shown instead of a new Gran Turismo. Like if this were the old days of Sony, they would have just been like bring out the guy who does Gran Turismo in the Japanese studio, and he'd say like, Gran Turismo exists. Here is the 10-second video. Goodbye.
Which is actually, before we even get there, exactly what like 5 companies did.
Yes,
that's what Square didn't even do that. Square took the stage and just literally went like, "Hey, here's a video we showed off next year, and we're going to bring out another guy." And then that other guy came out. He's like, "Guess what?
Please be excited for E3 this year. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
We are not done with Final Fantasy, and we're making a new one." It's like
Much to the surprise of absolutely nobody.
Crazy. Like they introduced like, oh, it's the Final Fantasy brand manager. Like they're gonna announce a new Final Fantasy. It's like, and just they're making a Final Fantasy.
They didn't even say 15. They didn't even say 15. They just said a Final Fantasy.
They wouldn't commit to even that, and just also that it took them so long to make a PS3 Final Fantasy. Will we even see a Final Fantasy PS4 in 2014? Like
Probably not. But you know what we will probably see? Infamous Second Son, which I'm probably the person who is most excited for this game. S-O-N.
So you think
I'm a huge Infamous fan, and I love Infamous 2. And this game, I mean, I know it's only a tech demo. Not even. It was like, it may have been in game. They didn't even say it. Probably wasn't. But it looks really cool.
Those powers he had were awesome. He was like disintegrating and moving really fast, and
Which is
turning into
one
a
of the
tornado.
characters could do that in Infamous 2. So I'm guessing they're just kind of it's essentially, it looks sort of like a reboot. Not a reboot, almost like
I think you play as Cole's like son or
That's my
brother or
guess. I mean,
something,
probably me. I'm thinking when they say Second Son, it may be like you're created by the same power source. You're not actually
Could be.
You're not his blood relative. You two
Right.
didn't like build a fort together when you were like preteen. So also, I'd say biggest surprise, The Witness, Jonathan Blow.
Yeah, that caught everybody.
Trotted out and showed off a little peaceful island, and it's going to come out on the PS3 before it hits the Wii U or the 360 or 720 or whatever Microsoft's
It'll be
doing.
exclusive to the PS4, right?
Yeah,
PS4.
it said within the launch window, which, as we know from Nintendo, is like 12 months after the thing comes out. They will only hit PlayStation. It'll be PC also, but console-wise, it will only hit PlayStation 4.
And it's a
and it
pretty
looks
big deal.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it
The
really
first
does.
trailer was released, so you will have that on
It
Games
was
Radar.
so strange on such a giant stage to see Jonathan Blow come up there and like
It's just like kind of a meek man, just kind of like, hey guys,
I'm sorry.
look at all those explosions. So other games that were sort of tech demo-y, we saw Deep Down,
Yes,
Yeah.
Capcom's newest IP.
which literally
Working title.
looks exactly like Dragon's Dogma.
It does,
Looks
but I
like
think-
Dragon's Dogma's gameplay, except that it looked beautiful. It looked
Yeah.
ridiculous.
It
The
seemed
new,
very Dark Souls to me though too, because it was like you're gonna die in shame or die.
Idiot.
Die
You're
as a
a
coward.
coward.
You're, you're a jerk.
And then you have to like, and then they showed Ono going online saying like, "I'm dying here, help me." So
And I
it's
have a Blanca avatar.
so it's a co-op-y game. I suggest once more that this is Capcom trying to sell Monster Hunter to white people.
That's literally all Capcom wants to do.
Really, if they could sell it to white people the way they do to the Japanese, like they would be billionaires.
I know, but you say that literally about every Capcom game.
Well, Monster Hunter rules the world.
Yeah. So also confirmed, Destiny and Watch Dogs coming to the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
And
I'm
looking
curious-
quite good.
And they actually called Watch Dogs a next generation game.
Yeah, so Destiny,
That's a big deal.
Destiny, they definitely were saying it's a PS3 and 360 game as well.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering now if Watch Dogs, if they're just gonna, the next time we actually ask them, or whoever asks them, they're gonna go like, Well, we couldn't say it was
Yeah.
PS4, but it's not really current gen. It's
Yeah,
only
I
next
fully
gen.
expect
That
that
said,
to be
I
the
wouldn't be
case.
surprised if they just stripped it down and threw it on
Yeah, they could
current
give us
gen.
an ugly version.
And they showed off a pretty good demo for the game that
Yeah.
I still have no idea what's going on or why your character's doing anything, but you can slow down time using your cell phone, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
If that's a launch game, I think that'll be an amazing launch
I'd be
game.
surprised if it wasn't, if they said it's coming out this year. Why wouldn't it
Ubisoft
be?
loves launch games.
They love, it's literally their favorite thing.
Well, that would be a huge one for them too.
Yeah.
So
Other games, Media Molecule showed off something. Quantic Dream showed off
old
literally
man's
an old
head.
man's face.
Molecule loves to
Looked
move.
good though.
Diablo 3 coming to PS3 and PS4.
I don't
PS4.
know if that's even worth it. But,
I loved Metzen. Is that how you say his
Yeah.
name?
Yeah.
Him on stage. He's like, whatever. Diablo 3. Oh, see you guys.
The way they started it was like, we're going to conquer the world. This is a huge deal. The Blizzard's coming to console. It's Diablo. Hey, I gotta go get it.
Yeah, and how he was like, we've got console development in our blood. I was like, well, you guys did make console games when consoles first became a thing.
Like
Years
20
and
years
years
ago,
and
you
years
made a
ago.
console game and then you swore off them forever. So yeah, ton of news. Games Radar is going to have ridiculous breakdowns of every one of these games. We're going to have stories that detail the specs, compare them to the specs of other specs. Everything you could possibly want from the PS4 and from PS4 news you can find on Games Radar within the next few days. So definitely do that, and be sure to check back for more Radar Reacts.